Alright, so we're back on this Scott's 2048 here. In the last video we got it running and moving around. I actually did cut a pretty good chunk of my grass with it. The main reason I stopped was this tire kept going flat. I stole this tire off of the other one because this one actually was actually pumped up too much, and the rest of them, I think this one is down, but it'll hold air for a while. So I got an inner tube for this tire, which just came today. I just bought a new battery for it, and I got some oil to do an oil change on. So I thought we'd just go ahead and just kind of do, hopefully, a relatively short video of just some basic maintenance. Oh, the other thing was that I was able to fix the pickup inside the gas tank. So this is a really easy, I don't know what you call this, the fender, the body, whatever you want to call it, but literally it's just, there's 2 bolts back here. So you just take these like wing nuts off. You can pull the whole seat off. I forget what size these were. I want to say they were like 13 millimeter. Take those off, and then right up under here, right there, if you can see that. Let's see that there. There's 2 nuts on either side of the front. That's literally it. You take those 4 off. It kind of requires a little bit of finagling to get it over like the pedals and stuff. Oh yeah, and you pull this the height adjustment off. That just slides off, and you can take the whole fender off without taking apart any of this up here. It's easier to take, or it's as easy to take the whole body off of this thing as it is to take the hood off of this thing, because you don't have the little slip joints to take this off. So I thought that was pretty cool. All that happened was the hose goes into the top right over here, like a hard plastic piece that goes from like a metal fitting, like an elbow up here, that is like a grommet in the tank that went straight down to the bottom. So all I did was just put a piece of fuel hose that, you know, I cut it to length so that it went down to the bottom, and it worked fine. So that was a pretty easy fix so far. You know, I was able to actually use this thing without spending any money on it at all. But I bought an inner tube for, I'll put in how much it costs. I got it from Amazon. Batteries are 25 bucks at Walmart. What else? I got some motor oil. I bought like a package of like 12 oil filters a while back that fit Kohlers and Briggs & Stratton engines. I figure I'm gonna be doing enough of these. I got some fuel filters, I got some oil filters, just some like bulk stuff, so that if I get one, I can just kind of go ahead and do these things without having to like go and buy it individually. So you may want to do those kind of things too, save yourself some money. But anyway, let's stop wasting time and go ahead and get right into it. I want to see if I can get this choke cable to free up. There's a little bit of metal exposed up on the top. I'm going to spray some PV plaster down in there. It already turned a little bit now. There was just kind of like a little bit of a gap, so I just sprayed some in there. Now I'm able to twist it. I couldn't do anything. It was totally frozen. Let's stick it out a little bit more. There we go. The choke worked fine. It was just a matter of getting that freed up. So I tighten the nut back down over here, so that actually holds that still, and that will work. The battery, I did learn something today. I guess I learned it already, but there are 2 different style lawn and garden batteries. I thought they were all the same, but there are reversed ones. So this one calls for the U1, which is what this is. What I have right here is a U1R. The R means reverse. This is what came off of the Sabre. You know, on that one, you could, like, this one has enough slack that you can kind of run the cables to either side a little bit better. So be careful. They do have a lookup at Walmart that I was able to use to, you know, show me that this particular tractor calls for just the standard polarity. Get that out of here. And there also should be one of these, which again, you know, got a parts tractor. A little strap that fits in this groove to hold it in place. This one did not have one, but the other one did. So before I hook it up, let's see if this actually will strap into place. This fits in there. I gotta stretch it around the other side. Actually, let me put it on the other side first. Yeah, just like that. So that's your battery hold down, essentially. Make them snug, but don't go crazy. So, got our battery hooked up. Is my brake on? No, it is not. Put the brake on. I want to see if it cranks. Yep. So let me tighten this choke cable back down. Forget which way was choke on and choke off. So force it. Well, let me make a look at the other one to cheat. The choke on is this way, all the way this way. So I got it pushed all the way in, so it should be choke off. So we're going to slide this all the way that way and then tighten down this 8mm. Use the correct tool, which is the vice grip. So what this does is it holds the casing of this cable in place. That means it's tight. That way when you slide it, all you're moving is the inner portion, and it actually will move it. So that's good now. Alright, so we got a choke, we got a good battery. So I guess now we can see if it actually just wants to start up. It's been about a week since I started it. See what happens here. Pull the choke out. Died. Pull it over to the garage off the grass so I can get the tire off. Alright, so it does two things. It warms the oil up a little bit, so now I can drain it easier for an oil change. And I can also jack it up easier on the pavement and get that wheel off of there. So the oil drain is actually right here on this side. I'm not sure what size that is, but you can just take like a big adjustable wrench and put it on there and just try to get you a pan that will go under there. Alright, so if you turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, I just have this kind of a Rubbermaid pan that kind of fits in there, but it's like resting on like the steering and the deck. I put a block of wood under it so that if it gets more full. Sorry, I got something in there from another oil change. But if I crank this loose, you also want to loosen your oil cap as well. This helps it to flow better. Loosen that bad boy up. Ugh. I'm expecting a little more velocity than that. Of course, it's not. It's warm, not hot. It's not terrible. If it looked really bad, I wouldn't have run it at all, you know. So let that drain for a minute. All right, so while it's draining, I'm going to help it along here by lifting up the back, and it'll help the oil flow out of that hole a little bit better. Yep, I see it pouring out better already. I'm going to go ahead and take this rear wheel off. 16 millimeter. This is where the fun starts. Okay, we got the Scott's fully functional, I would say. I cut my whole lawn with it yesterday. What I've done was put an inner tube in both of the left tires. The first one that I put in, I popped because I didn't put it in properly, and I had it like kind of kinked over or something, and I inflated too much. I've kind of learned how to do them a little better, so I got one in this one and one in the front one. This side, the right front tire is off of the other one, which was full of air when I got it, and that's still holding air. This one, it's still up, but I think this one has a really slow leak. But it's okay, it holds long enough to cut the grass, you know. I'm gonna pull it outside so you can see it a little bit better, but basically, the only thing that I've noticed is that the battery light right here comes on whenever either the headlights are on or the blade is engaged. But it is still charging because I cut everything yesterday, it still starts right up. So, you know, it's charging, just maybe not quite as much as it should. So, I'm going to probably just let that go. But let's just go ahead and do a cold start. Pull the choke out, brake down. All right, so it works pretty good. Show you the headlights. I was able to get those going. This one did not have the harness, but the other one, which had missing headlights, actually did have a harness. So I put 2 new bulbs in it and used the harness off of the other one. I swapped the blades from the other machine. They are a little nicer mulching blade. They have these little like teeth things on them, and I sharpened them up on my bench grinder. The ones that were on here were really worn. They were like rounded off on the edge, and they were not mulching blades. So I just went ahead and swapped them over to the other one. They do work, they're just worn out. I swapped a couple of the think this is the original one, but this is from the other one. It's much more rounder. And also adjusted all these. They're all basically down in the lowest position. Right now the deck is raised up, I think. Yeah, so I would set it 3 inches right here. So when it goes down, and it was about an inch lower in the front than it is in the back. So I got that adjusted, and the way you do that is right here. It actually has 2 nuts on either side. You loosen the nut on the back, and I ran this one in. You can kind of see how far the threads are that I ran in, and that brings the front of the deck up. So we got it right at about, just about, you know, I think I set it at 3.5, you know, as far as the dial. I think I was right around like 3 1/4 in the front and like 3.5 in the back. You want it to be a little bit lower in the front, about 1/4 inch lower in the front. It works. It runs perfectly good when you're mowing. There's a little bit of a surge when it's not under load, I guess. You may have been able to hear that. You know, I haven't touched any belts or anything like that. I did change the oil, but I'm trying to keep this one as cheap as possible. Right now I think I'm gonna try to do something about this hood. Kind of tape off where the decal is and try to see if I can wet sand this a little bit. And I kind of want to take the headlights out. I'm not sure how hard that's going to be. For right now I might just tape over it and just try to see if we can sand down to some actual orange plastic. All right, so I don't know how much you can see in the dark at this point. I started off just dry sanding it. And then I started weighing it down. I'm not actually sure what this is. I think it's 400. I'm pretty sure this is what we use to start polishing plastic headlights at work. We do a headlight restoration, so it should be fine for this plastic too. What I noticed is when you wet it down, it looks real. I mean, like this looks like new right here. It's smooth too. Now once that dries, it's gonna be really dull. It's gonna look just as light, you know, like almost gray as it did before once it's dry. But I think it works good just to see, you know, if you can see, if it looks nice and shiny, then you've probably got it good enough to where once we hit it with, you know, 1,000 grit and 2,000 grit and then polish it, it'll be nice and smooth. I got lazy and didn't take this side off for sanding because I can really kind of get in there and work around it with the sand block. I will definitely retape it or tape everything when I actually use the polisher on it because I can't really get that controlled that well. I think I'm gonna stop for right now. I've got pretty much everything sanded down with the coarse sandpaper. All right, so now we got it in the daylight, and I've sanded it with 400 grit. Basically wet sanded it with that sanding sponge. So I'm pretty sure I've got it down to where enough of the top layer of like the oxidation has come off. I could probably go a little further because there are these like spots here, which probably should be completely sanded out. So I might do a little more first to try to get some of this, and like this interstate batteries thing right here. I'm not sure how much I have to sand to get that out of there, but that actually might be kind of cool just to see that little like silhouette there. I don't know. I probably need to get up in here a little bit better. You can kind of see the difference between how dark this is versus this. But if that's not perfect in there, I'm not going to worry too much about that. So I might go a little bit more because you can see like right here where it's pretty dark. So if I can try to get all the light areas to look like this, then I think that'd be pretty good. Yeah, so it's getting even shinier, and you can kind of just tell as you're sanding, you know, the paper, you know, kind of starts out a little rough and like it's kind of hard to move it. But the more you go and you know, once it's like actually sanded down, it just runs over it smoother. So, I mean, if it just looked like that all the time, that'd be great, but it's still wet. Big difference already. So now I'm going to move, this was 800 grit, and I'm going to move to, I'm just going to go right to 2000 grit. I don't think I have anything in between, but again, you know, it's just a lawnmower. We're just trying to make it look decent for what it is. Alright, so that's basically all the sanding that I'm going to do done. You can kind of see where I could probably get really picky and come back through and try to get all these lighter areas down. But for the most part, it's really smooth. And when it's wet, it's just like super glossy. So that's where I'm going to stop with my sanding. I'm going to see these decals actually hold up really well. I'm going to see how they do. I'm going to just kind of test like a little one area, see if they stand up to the polisher, but they don't come off at all. I mean, they're stuck on there pretty good. Another indication that the quality was better at John Deere in the early 2000s as opposed to later 2000s, evidently. So I'm going to use is this Meguiar's Ultimate Polish. I've got a $50 Harbor Freight polisher, and I've got this Bauer 7-inch fine foam polishing pad. So there's a fine cut with a gloss finish, and this was like under $10. I've used this for, I think, the E90 last week. First time I used it, it seemed to do okay. I mean, I wasn't really looking for major cutting. I'm gonna put a little bit on. Just kind of see what we get. This thing, I think it starts at speed 10 and goes to like, I'm not sure. This goes anywhere from 10 or 1,000 to 3,500 RPMs. I think I was doing somewhere around like 15 or 16. Just want to kind of smear the product on a little bit first, so you don't just sling it everywhere. I'm probably going to sling it some, but I mean, I think most people would be completely happy with that. So that's not wet anymore. That's just the hood. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a mirror finish yet, but I can keep going and get it a little bit closer to that. You can see the difference there. It's easier to tell on this side, I think, the way the light's hitting it right now. But you go from that to that, and that's all dry. So I'm gonna keep doing that all the way around, and then I'm gonna have to do the rest of the tractor because the rest of it's gonna look like crap in comparison. Alright, so it looks really good in all the areas that got sanded properly. And for most people, this would probably be good enough. But if you look down here, the polish wasn't able to get out these scratches. So this basically, I would say, is a pretty good indication I need to go back with the 2000 grit and get this smoother, because all these areas right here, it's just not getting it that nice, like, you know, mirror. Well, it's kind of a mirror finish. I mean, it's pretty shiny. I mean, compared to how this thing did look, I mean, you can easily see the reflection in that, right? I mean, you know, that's pretty good. And here, you know, to really get this in here, you probably have to get some kind of like a really small like drill attachment, which, you know, the nice thing about this being plastic is you don't have to really worry about not getting it all done at one time. I can come back, and if I get something that'll fit in here, you know, some of these smaller places, and you can touch it up, and it's no big deal. The other nice thing about being plastic is you don't really have to worry about like wearing through the paint, because there isn't any. Like, you know, on these edges, if this was metal and you really started going to town right here on this crease, this corner, you could go right through that paint. So being plastic like that certainly makes that a little better. So I'm going to keep working with this with the 2000 grit now that I kind of went over it, and I can see what easily needs to be sanded more. And this thing will look pretty much brand new, because the cool thing is all this stuff is still really good shape. There's really nothing wrong with the decals at all, and they even hold up to the polisher going over it. So definitely happy with how it's turning out. All right, guys and gals, I think that's the best this thing is ever going to look, just being what it is. But we got it, the hood all polished up, and I mean, you know, there's couple places where it's just really hard to sand, but overall it looks pretty good for someone that's just going to get dirty. But you can see the reflection there. I mean, it's got a pretty good shine on it. Took the front grill off and the headlights, cleaned them out, realized there was no reflective material at all in those headlights. So I actually used some chrome spray paint and just kind of quickly masked off the area around it and just hit it with some chrome paint, just so it has a little something reflective, because I do actually use the tractors at night sometimes, especially in the fall. But gave the entire thing some wax, just some McGuire's cleaner wax, so it has like a little bit of an abrasive to it. It just gives a little bit of shine. It's still got a little bit of, you know, imperfections on it, but, you know, again, it's a tractor, so whatever. But except for the seat, looks pretty good. So just for, you know, a couple hours of elbow grease, you can make a really nasty looking plastic hood, or the whole tractor for that matter, look pretty decent. I mean, this is something that I could sell in this area for $600 pretty easily, at least in the early spring. Probably more in the early spring. I'd probably get like $750 for this. Right now I could probably get about $5 for it, if someone really needed one. But not much invested into the whole thing. A couple inner tubes. Do need another one for this right rear tire, though. Technically it does hold air for a while, so you can kind of, you know, you can fill it up, mow with it, and then it'll go down in a couple days. Other than that, it runs really good, cuts really good, and yeah, it's a pretty nice tractor. These evidently were about $4 grand when they were new, at least MSRP, so certainly not cheap. So all right, guys, thanks for watching. If you did like the video, please hit the subscribe, hit the like button. It helps everything, it helps me out, helps out the channel. Until next time, peace.